I was asked recently as to how I prepare for a presentation. Now, once I accept the invite for a presentation and the abstract has been sent in, I pretty much do nothing physically on the computer for maybe 10 days prior to the date of the presentation. However, I am using the time from the time I receive the invite to those 10 days prior to actively think about the presentation, especially to think about how to make it interesting for the audience. I always assume that I know nothing about the topic. Regardless of the topic that's been given to me, I try to go in with a clean slate, and that's when I hit Google Scholar. Google Scholar is where I do all of my lit searching, and I usually prefer systematic reviews and meta-analysis because that gives me a sort of comprehensive information. Then I go into randomized controlled trials, and very rarely do I look at case reports because that's not really very helpful in the grand scheme of evidence. Now, once I've found all these articles, what I do is I then take it into my bibliography manager, which is EndNote, and all of my references are now in EndNote, and also if I have the PDFs, I attach it to those references, so I'm able to open those PDFs. Now, once I open the PDFs, I start reading each article line by line. I do not skip to the conclusions because a lot of articles have a lot of interesting information that you shouldn't miss. So I read the article line by line, and I then start to highlight what I think is interesting or relevant. And then after that is the point where I start to screenshot. So now I'm further filtering. I've done my highlighting, and that would be maybe 5 screenshots per article. Then I start the actual presentation work. This is now we are at about 1 week prior to the presentation. I, of course, get the format and the slide size right and all of that stuff. And then I start to insert these screenshots along with the references into the presentation. And now the screenshots by themselves, I don't believe belong in a presentation. It's just lazy. So what I would say is I like to paraphrase or convert those screenshots into very easily readable text, and that is what I actually present on the screen. So now that the evidence part of it is over, that's kind of the hard part. The rest of it is probably cases, and you have your cases, you have your pictures. I get that from Adobe Lightroom because that's where I've saved all my pictures. Format it to the right size, do all the little effects you want. All of this is happening 1-2 days before the presentation. More often than not, I am tweaking my presentation just before the presentations. Like my previous one at the IDDC 2.0, I finalized my presentation only on the flight. Luckily, it's a 2-hour flight. It gave me time to do that. And then very important is practice, because when you practice, you then realize that there are certain things wrong with the animation, or certain things were missing, or there were certain other issues which really should have been avoided. So what I do is in fact, in Mumbai just now, I found a quiet room where no one was there. I went in and I practiced that presentation for half an hour, made a little tweak there as well. So really my presentation was only ready 1 hour before I went on stage. So that is kind of how I like to do it. It's how it's worked for me. And hopefully the guys, you guys who saw the presentation in Mumbai enjoyed it. If you have any other questions about how to go about making your presentations, shoot me a DM and I'm happy to help you out. And with that, I hope I've confused you enough. This is the Dental Review Guy signing off with a smile.